Well, welcome to another episode of the Skytale Insights podcast. I am here with the incredible Kelly Pennington, one of my dear friends in the industry, who is also Senior Vice President of Sales for HydraFacial across all of the Americas. So that is North America, Central America, South America. It is a very big job, and really looking forward to chatting with you about what that means and what you're focused on these days.
Awesome. Thanks, Annie. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So you have, looking at your background, what always strikes me is you've really seen aesthetics from so many angles at this point in your career, on the pharma side, working at Galderma, a few other players, you've been on the operator side, working for Advancement Aesthetic Partners, which is backed by Land Capital. You started your own firm and were a consultant for a while, and now, of course, you're a leader at HydraFacial. Walk me through just like that arc professionally, and how, having sat in all of those shoes, how what you're doing today feels different.
Yeah, it's been a really fun journey. And I got started, in medical sales almost 20 years ago, but specifically dermatology and aesthetics, 13, 14 years ago. And the shift in watching how the industry has evolved has really been fascinating. And I've learned so much being part of, Galderma, when we first were bringing in, Perlane to Lift and the Restylane family of products, and introducing toxins and fillers really into the market. And then shifting over, like you said, to the private equity side, acquiring practices and running and operating multi-chain locations.
Yep.
It shifted my perspective on how the industry really is doing, what we need to focus on as an industry, and what patient behaviors are shifting from what they were even 5 years ago. And what sitting in all these different seats has taught me is how to see what those changes are from a different lens. From, yes, the side as a vendor who's selling products, to the side as a practice manager or an operator, how we view those changes differently and how we need to shift our own behaviors to capitalize on a growing market.
Yeah. I mean, it really strikes me how relevant your background is to your current job, because, especially in medical sales, I mean, what you're doing all day is listening. Really directly interfacing with the pain points of the end consumer. And what a powerful thing to really understand that ethos, whether it's from the esthetician side, the injector side, the owner side. And then, of course, at AMP, then you layer on the what are the financial considerations of a large group? What are they worried about? What's keeping them up at night? And, HydraFacial, I know the way in which we've talked about this before, the way you think about accounts is you're there to support their businesses grow. And HydraFacial is a lever for that. But really, you're in the business of helping promote practices.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm, sitting in my chair today, running sales for HydraFacial. I'm so grateful for the previous years sitting on the practice side, working with private equity, when I owned my own firm and was working with multi-chain locations, because it taught me a different mindset. Yeah. And now back on the vendor side, I understand what the owner wants, the practice manager wants, the private equity firm wants in a different way than I think I did before, right? And so it helps me to formulate, how does my team show up? How does HydraFacial show up to serve the needs of our customers and the patients that are walking in the door, but truly support skin rejuvenation, a category that is continuing to grow nearly double digits, and really have a strong position, a strong foothold within that specific section of the market.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned skin rejuvenation. We're sort of looking at the data, and we continue to see that category is growing, I think, double the growth of the overall industry, which is exciting and really sort of lends itself to this idea of preventative health, natural beauty, health and wellness from the inside out. Why do you think that category is growing so quickly, really across demographics?
Yeah. So I think what I've seen has been fascinating. When I first was in the industry, we were filling patients,
Yeah.
nasolabial folds all day long, right? We weren't even understanding the anatomy of the aging face and the
Yeah.
condition of aging. And I think when I lecture sometimes and give presentations, I talk a lot about the facial aging process, but more than that, getting into the weeds of understanding the condition of aging and how once we've understood that, once we understand what's happening to the bone, the
Mm.
muscle, the fat, the skin, it has shifted over the past 10 years the way that we treat the condition of aging.
Yeah.
So now you notice, even with filler or sculpture or something of that nature, we're not just filling nasolabial folds. We're starting from the lateral portion of the cheek. We're working on strengthening the foundation of the tissue, the
Yeah.
skin, and the underlying structures, right?
Yeah.
So we're not just chasing lines anymore. We're actually focused on structure.
Yeah.
And skin rejuvenation plays such a huge role in that because if your skin is the tablecloth overlaying all of that foundation, it is essential to have the elasticity be strong, to have the collagen fibers be strong. And so now patients are understanding the science behind the aging condition in a way that they didn't before.
Yeah.
So they're realizing skin health is so important to that whole journey of looking youthful. We
Yeah.
talk about wellness a lot and how that category has really been growing double digits. Well, same thing here with skin health. And that's really what HydraFacial's foundation is based on, is the skin health and how that plays a role in your journey through the aging process. And we really, really pride ourselves on being linked to the foundation of science when it comes to hydrating the skin and offering, different boosters that address different skin concerns such as acne or fine lines and wrinkles or hyperpigmentation. So it's much more complex than what we used to see with just chasing lines and wrinkles.
Yeah. Yeah. The number of times I've begged my provider to just give me a little bit right here. And, to his credit, he has said no
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single time.
Otherwise, we saw a bunch of people start to look like monkeys 10 years ago. We're like, what are we doing wrong here?
Yeah, I'd prefer to save that for the monkeys.
Yeah.
And it's true. The sort of I think this is just AI. I think it's both AI and genuine interest in sort of the real science behind results. I was actually moderating a panel this past weekend at a healthcare private equity event, and we were talking about how consumers really are becoming mini scientists. They come to appointments with their AI treatment plan and an understanding of the Xeomin molecule is a little bit different than the Latibo molecule, et cetera, which can certainly cut both ways, but overall, I'm always an advocate of awareness and education. And so I think net, it's really a powerful thing.
Yeah, agreed. And I think now, because that information is just at our fingertips, like you said, and Instagram is filling us with the latest and greatest all the time, consumers are more aware of the options that are out there. And the other thing that we notice is patients don't want a lot of downtime. They want something that's going to make them look great today, but also give them benefits for, whether that's days, weeks, months, years ahead.
Yeah.
So we've also seen that shift of not wanting to overdo it. They want to stay natural looking, but also use services or use products that are helping them 5-10 years from now versus just a quick fix today. It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really strikes me, when we look at the average patient journey, right? It strikes me how the facial, then the HydraFacial are really that, for many folks, starting point of their first interaction with, a more professional grade type of skincare and skin services. How are you thinking about HydraFacial as a lead generator for practices? And then second part of the equation is, reminding folks, to be honest, probably like me, that yes to your laser, yes to your microneedling, but upkeep of, your basic, your HydraFacial, really leaning into those basic services, say quarterly, again, creates that tablecloth upon everything else is built. How do you think about both of those sides?
Well, I think about the mega brand that HydraFacial is, the brand recognition. And in fact, we have data that shows it is the second most recognized brand in the world next to Botox, which is
Wow.
powerful. So that means patients walk in and they're familiar with HydraFacial.
Yeah.
They have trust in that brand because they know it's tried, true, and tested. And even if you look at Real Self, the Real Self ratings are 97% or higher,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's confidence in the brand. So we have data that actually shows that about 7% of new patients that walk into every practice are asking for HydraFacial. What we've seen shift in the last few years, and looking at some recent data from Zenoti, tells us 46% of patients walking in the door are asking for skin rejuvenation,
Wow.
something within that category. And
Wow.
that category includes hydrodermabrasion, microdermabrasion, microneedling.
Yeah.
So we know that this is a area that patients are gravitating towards, but HydraFacial holds such a strong position in the market that it's a really great revenue generator for practices.
Totally.
It's also that, like you said, if 46% of our patients are walking in for the first time wanting something in this category, it's an awesome gateway drug, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I've always looked at neuromodulators the same way. It's
Mhm.
the gateway drug. But once you get them in and they understand, how does hydrodermabrasion play a role in their overall skin health, in the overall treatment plan that they're actually getting from the practice? You know, you look at HydraFacial patients, typically 25% of them start to purchase medical grade skincare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Wow.
you don't just have a HydraFacial patient, you have someone purchasing retail.
Yeah.
We know that if you partner HydraFacial with other procedures such as, IPL or fractional laser, you're reducing brown spots by an additional 30% and increasing hydration. So there's all these benefits to procedural pairings with HydraFacial that from a practice standpoint increases your average ticket, increases
Mhm.
patient satisfaction and the end result,
Yeah.
and keeps customers really happy. They have wonderful outcomes
Yeah.
because you are really paying attention to that dermal layer, that epidermal layer, clearing the debris and making the penetration of other products and procedures
Mhm.
even that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting that you talk about retail purchases. We are doing a project right now for a skincare company, which is a delight and a treat. And it's a really fun brand. And we were looking
Yeah.
at when a patient goes to a practice, whether that's a plastics, a med spa, what have you, what are they most likely to buy a product after? And to your
Mhm.
point, it's skin rejuvenation. It really, I mean,
Totally.
it was such a difference between it. Like, ironically, very few people will buy a product after sort of like a larger laser, even, but it's a post
Sure.
facial, post hydrofacial. Absolutely. I mean, you can have some really great attach rates, quote unquote, and hopefully that becomes a recurring stream of revenue for a practice owner as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that we don't talk about enough is microneedling, and
Totally.
within the skin health umbrella that HydraFacial sits under, we also have Skin Stylist, which is a microneedling and nanochanneling device. And we're seeing a major increase in microneedling, up 32% in the market right now.
Wow.
So again, a non-invasive type procedure, but is generating really great results that are, changing the quality, the texture, the tone of the skin,
Yeah.
and also opening that door, like you said, for other types of procedures, skincare, etc. So
Yeah.
both of those factors, hydrodermabrasion with HydraFacial and microneedling, are absolutely essential to a practice success right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that I'm so glad you brought that up. It was actually, I learned this a while ago, but it was a surprise to me initially that HydraFacial has a microneedling capability, and what a powerful bundling to bring to your providers and your practice owners to deliver
Yeah.
both of those things to their
And
patients.
we relaunched it this year. It was kind of one of those products that we didn't give a whole lot of love and attention to because
Yeah.
HydraFacial has always been the love, right?
Yeah.
But now we've recognized this need in the market, and we've had definitely a huge influx of customers that have bought in with Skin Stylist and are
Yeah.
seeing actually the procedural pairing between Skin Stylist and HydraFacial.
Yeah.
Because even for folks that don't want micro needling, nano channeling is a great way to increase penetration and have
Hmm.
dual therapy with both nano channeling and HydraFacial. So it's definitely been a point of interest this year and something we've focused on very strongly as a company.
Yeah. Nano channeling. I love that. I have to add that word to my toolkit. That's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
one.
It's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
especially for states where estheticians are a little bit more limited,
If
maybe they can't perform microneedling, they can
Mhm.
perform nanochanneling
Yeah.
because we're pushing product into the tissue, but we're not creating channels, therefore violating some state requirements in terms of licensure.
Yeah, yeah. It's so interesting you said that. I'm going to have, a personal side as I tend to do. Um, I was invited to this women in finance event where they were like, come to a Woodhouse spa and get a free facial. I was like, accept,
Yes.
which I is typically like pretty protective of my time. And I had a laser appointment with my wonderful doctor, Dr. Rami, at Alinea in San Francisco the following week. And I was talking to her and she was saying, do you want to do a HydraFacial instead of just a regular facial? And I was like, yes, sign me up. And I said, but you should know I have this laser next week. And she told me that exact same thing, Kelly, was she's like, well, perfect. That means like that makes it even better for us to do the
Yeah,
HydraFacial treatment in advance of your
yeah,
laser. She also
yeah.
upsold me on the JLo boost, so I assume that I look like JLo now.
Yes.
Thank you for noticing.
The glow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The
Love it.
JLo glow, exactly. But echoing sort of what you said, I think we're learning so much about pre-care and aftercare,
Yeah.
and it really does matter.
Yeah. And you think about, when you have big procedures done or surgeries done, they often give you things to do before, right? Maybe it's even not taking aspirin or
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
shave the hair on your body or whatever it is,
yeah,
right? You have a list of things to do before the procedure. And we don't necessarily treat lasers that way or other energy-based device treatments that
yeah,
way, where if we get all the gunk out of the skin, we open up those channels, we have deeper penetration with other modalities.
mm,
And then, like for you, if you have a laser treatment, you treat before and you treat after.
yeah,
Now we know that we can clinically increase hydration 200, 300%, which helps with the healing time. It helps with redness, inflammation. And
yeah,
so it's really, really great to see practices that embrace what HydraFacial does from a clinical standpoint, much deeper than just, yeah, you get a facial and it's a great glow.
yeah.
No, it's actually doing so much for your tissue in terms of pre-treating and post-treating with other procedures.
Yeah, we think so much about pre-treatment and post, in a surgical capacity and in a
Yeah,
healthcare capacity. And
totally.
there's really, there's no different. And if you're about to invest, a lot of money in a larger service, like you might as well sort of add those things on. It's like
Totally.
skincare, like it,
Yep.
it's this much more, but it really can make a difference.
Well, and if you are going to invest in medical grade skincare, which we know is another category growing at double digits right
Yeah,
now, why would you not want to make sure that your tablecloth, if you will, that outer layer is able to absorb all of that great skincare?
yeah, yeah,
So that's another thing is making sure that you are preparing the skin to absorb what you've purchased and to have the best outcomes
yeah,
because it's your skin's prepared.
yeah. No, totally. You've shared so much about sort of changes in consumer behavior. That's so interesting. The skincare piece and the micro needling piece, and I know HydraFacial and yourself included obviously spends so much time just understanding the consumer, where she's at, what she's focused on, what she's worried about. Is there anything else here, just out of curiosity, that you're noticing right now, just in terms of shifts in behavior and needs?
Yeah, there's a few things that I follow pretty closely. Trends, of course, with patients walking in the door.
Mm,
So, one thing that I talk a lot with practices about is how are they seeing an influx of new patients? Are they really doubling down on their existing patients and making sure that they're capturing and retaining those repeat visits,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so we know that actual new patients, the number of new patients walking in the door, according to the latest Zenoti data, has decreased about 11%.
Huh.
However, the patients that are walking in the door are spending more money. So the average ticket is increasing. So if we know that, then we need to be thoughtful about the return of patients, right? That patient
Yeah.
acquisition, and are
Yeah.
we retaining our patients? And are we giving them really thoughtful treatment plans to keep them coming back? And do they understand the need of treating the condition of aging? It's not a one and done. It's
Mhm.
here's the prescription for 3 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, 6 months from now, 12 months
Yeah.
from now.
Yeah.
So I really follow, like, what trends do we see coming into the practice in terms of new patients, existing patients, and then also, to your point, what does that patient look like? Well,
Mhm.
most recently, we've noticed a gradual increase of Gen Z actually influxing skin rejuvenation. We
Yeah.
see a ton of younger patients walking in the door saying they now, because of social media, because of AI, have knowledge of wanting to take care of their skin before the wrinkles set in,
Yeah.
before static lines appear on
Yeah.
the forehead. They're walking in saying, what can I do to get ahead of it?
Yeah. Before
So it's
Vizia
evolving.
shows you,
Yeah,
terrifying things that happened to your skin 20 years
right?
ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and what a gift for them. I mean, if I would
Totally.
have known about these things at 20 and use the same, we can reverse some of those signs of aging or just get ahead of it. So
Totally.
we are definitely seeing younger patients. And I think, for practices, it's how are they advertising? What are they talking about? Are
Mhm.
they credentialing their practice, their providers, and the procedure? Are they giving reasons and knowledge behind those treatments and what it's really doing? Not just, yes, it makes your skin glow and it looks great,
Yeah.
but from
Yeah.
a scientific perspective, what is it really doing and how is it really helping you?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I was looking at Gen Z. I was looking at sort of like different services and the breakdown in ages within each one of them, and I was struck by the fact that younger generations almost in some ways skip the needle. It's like they
Mhm.
do a lot of skin rejuvenation and a surprising amount of laser, like preventative
Yeah.
laser. And I think it's, again, that's the sort of trend of wellness, natural beauty. And, that's a high ticket item, but the willingness to pay, like, clearly is
Yeah.
there across the board.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
How are you thinking about body? This is something that's been on my mind a little bit, just because I've noticed some skincare companies really intentionally going into body, and not just body, but it can be, you know, arms, right, or hands. And I was actually at an Orange Twist event, and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
that little HydraFacial booth, and if you were doing HydraFacial treatments on folks' hands, how are you
Yeah.
thinking about like sort of incorporating more parts of the body into what you do in your
Yeah.
messaging?
We have so many protocols for parts of the body that, all sorts of parts of the body that you wouldn't even expect,
I had no idea.
because
Yeah.
it's important to treat the whole skin, right?
Mm.
Not just your face, not just the neck and neck, but it's important to treat back, chest, arms, legs, buttocks, even.
Yeah. Yeah.
And patients suffer from so many different skin conditions other than just fine lines and wrinkles, and we talk about aging, right?
Totally.
But we see right now a lot of Hydra body treatments that for acne, for example. So even young athletes or folks that just have suffered from back knee or
Yeah.
acne on their chest or bumps and irritation, KP on the back of their arms, and how HydraFacial can really help to eliminate and resolve those types of skin conditions.
Yeah.
So it's another area for HydraFacial that the practices that are embodying all of those types of services and talking to their patients about not just their face, but treating skin,
Yeah.
have really opened up a door to additional revenue streams and increased patient satisfaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think too with weight loss, right? Weight
Oh,
loss you
huge.
see show up in the buttocks, above the knee, right? The arm, like these
Yes.
areas of the body that, despite
Want to firm and
really great,
tighten.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yep.
despite incredible progress, can also have a high impact on self-esteem. And I'm always like, I hate when my older friends are like, oh, I can't wear tank tops. I'm like, yes, you can. You
Yeah.
still got
Yeah.
it. But
No,
yeah.
it's hard. That's the one thing. We have all of these wonderful treatments, and fillers and toxins and all these different things, but the skin, it's it, right? Like the
Yeah.
skin is the dead giveaway. I mean, think about it. you can probably think of your grandmother or other people that are older, and their skin, maybe their face looks beautiful and they've done all these lasers,
Yeah.
and then their hands are a dead giveaway of their age,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Their skin, the elasticity just changes, and so it's really important to see that. You mentioned weight loss. That has actually been because of GLP-1s and the
Yeah.
surge of GLP-1s over the years. We have seen also an increase in HydroScalp treatments because of hair
Interesting.
loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Totally.
that's another area that some folks don't even understand, that HydraFacial treats the whole body. So
Yeah.
even, we partner with Keravive and have this HydroScalp treatment that has been proven to increase hair growth.
Yeah.
And so how do we make sure that the skin on the scalp is healthy? That
Yeah.
we're feeding it the right peptides and molecules to help prevent hair loss and increase hair growth.
Yeah.
That's an avenue right now that's really big in the wellness community, and our practices who are really embodying a full HydraFacial, Hydra body, Hydra scalp have a
Yeah.
ton of success with that.
Yeah. And scalp and hair was, I mean, it was a booming category even prior to weight
Yeah,
loss, which is
yeah,
fascinating. But to your point, I think, we're all still learning more and more about side effects of the GLP-1s, many of which are certainly more than worthwhile. But the hair thinning, even for younger women who, guess what, women don't ever eat enough protein, is
right.
certainly one it continues to kind of come to the surface.
Yeah, it does. So I think that's another avenue, as patients are walking in. When you think about skin rejuvenation, are you just thinking face, or are you thinking full body? Are you
Yeah.
thinking scalp? If you are a practice or a provider, you should be, because it's definitely an area of opportunity for additional treatments, long-term treatment plans for your patients, and then also increasing your average ticket and moving a patient from one chair to the next within your practice.
It really all comes down to treatment plans. I mean, there's
Yeah.
like truly one common denominator. I mean, there are many things that are traits common to successful practices, but like the successful practices that consistently prove high patient retention and high patient satisfaction are those where it is not a one-stop shop. This is what we do. Here's your year planned out.
Yeah.
We could readjust based on where we are, but based on these treatments, and maybe you're starting GLP-1s here, so we schedule these scalp things and M-Sculpt Neo here. That's where
Yeah.
we're really seeing it. I mean, it's a win-win, right? It's a win for practices and practice owners, and it's obviously a win for the end patient, because they wouldn't be doing it if it didn't show, truly that it's worth the time investment and the financial investment.
Yeah. I had an aha moment. Gosh, I guess it's been like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
McKinsey and Company did a study that looked at what physician groups have the most loyal patients.
Hmm.
And dermatologists in this specific survey had the most loyal patients. And the reason for that is their patients believe that their dermatologist knew every freckle, every mole, every
Yeah.
possible basal cell, every issue on their skin. And I remember reading the results of this and thinking, gosh, why don't our patients see us that way in the aesthetic space? As
Yeah.
if I'm their provider, that I know every line and wrinkle on their face today, I know every skin condition in terms of elasticity, hyperpigmentation, you
Hmm.
name it. But also, because I understand the condition of aging, I know what lines are going to show up.
Exactly.
I know what I need to treat on the skin to prevent hyperpigmentation, to increase elasticity and collagen production.
Yeah.
And that, Annie, is the game changer for creating treatment plans.
Yeah.
Because if you walk in and you have a patient or a provider that sits with you and says, hold up this mirror. I'm going to teach you what's happening to your skin today. I'm going to
Hmm.
teach you what's happening to the underlying structures within the aging condition and what we see change over time with bone, fat, skin, muscle, all the changes. And then I'm going to create a customized treatment
Yeah.
plan that is going to serve you well 5, 10 years from now, and will keep you looking younger than all of your friends, because we're not just chasing lines and wrinkles. We're treating
Yeah.
what we know scientifically is going to happen.
Hmm.
That right there is the ticket.
Yeah.
If someone did that
100%.
for you, you
Yeah.
would go back to them every time,
I
because
sure
no
would.
one's ever educated you on your face in that way, or your body or your skin,
No, no,
right?
no. And I want that
Yeah.
outcome,
Right.
you
And
know?
so now it's, gosh, my provider Kelly or my provider Annie knows knows my skin better than anybody
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
knows every line that's going to show up. And you have that built-in confidence immediately. And that is what creates that retention.
Yeah.
That is what creates that trust. And that's what moves a patient from one chair to the next within your practice.
Yeah.
Because now you've not just sold them on HydraFacial and microneedling, they're getting their toxin, they're getting retail, they're getting their IPL, right?
Exactly. I was talking to a CEO of a private equity backed med spa platform, and she was telling me that one of her aha moments was that, unlike so many other medical fields, in aesthetics, you go in for a treatment and you leave and you can see the result. Right.
Yeah.
And so that, that I think too, like the beauty of the treatment plan is that your patient will see that it's working, not at the end of the treatment plan. Like they'll be able to see, you get something put in your face, it stops moving, right? Whereas other types of healthcare, like, I take a lot of supplements. Are they doing it? Like it's just harder to, some will make me feel better. Prebiotics, probiotics are wonderful. But, so many of them, we're kind of just like hoping, right? And I assume that if I eat more fiber, then I'll have like a better health outcome in 20 years. But this is such a unique industry because you can see it working. It's like sort of a guaranteed success if you're working with that provider who knows you and, of course, knows your unique goals, because it's no one size fits all outcome.
Well, and especially to set realistic expectations for the customers, right? For the patients. And so your example of, do I have a procedure done, wake up in the morning and see all of the results? Or like you're taking supplements or peptides or all these different things. Do you wake up and feel it or see it immediately?
Right.
The answer is probably no. But I think of it oftentimes like sunscreen.
Yeah.
You put sunscreen on your face every day, I hope.
Oh, you
and
better believe I do.
Do too, right?
Yeah.
But not because you walk outside and you actually see it warding off the sun, but long term, it's doing more for you than if you didn't wear it.
Yeah.
In terms of age prevention, sun damage, etc. Right?
Exactly.
So many of the products that we use, you have to understand the science behind it. Just like with sunscreen and what it does for you long term, HydraFacial is the same way in terms of those consistent treatments and what it does for elasticity, for hyperpigmentation, for other types of skin conditions. The other one I think about is Sculptra, a collagen stimulator. Depending on how it's used, if it's used to firm and tighten collagen or if it's used for volumizing, two different treatments, right? You may wake up the next morning and not necessarily see all of the volume correction, but what it's actually doing under the tissue with connecting and building new collagen fibers is more beneficial for you 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And you don't see that because it's doing the work under the dermal layer, right?
And that's when the burden's on the provider. It's the education piece.
It's the education piece.
Like this is actually what's happening. Yeah.
Yep. So when you do that long-term treatment plan is, here's what you see immediate results with, and here's what we're doing that is preventative for future outcomes so that you look younger than all of your friends 5 years from now.
Yeah. No, I love it. I'm working on, I wear sunscreen every day, but I'm working on two things: reapplication and hands.
Oh my God,
I've become that lady in the car,
I know. I feel like I'm 45 this year and I feel just just the skin, right? Like I've noticed it on my hands, my arms, even my legs, where I'm like, trying to use the retinols and all the things at night and slathering myself with every cream known to man. Yeah.
It's funny. I hosted a bachelorette party for my best guy friend. Bachelorette being key. We did a coastal grandma theme bachelorette party for him. And my friend group thought it was the most funny thing in the world. The number of unironic visors I have is like unhinged. They're like, why do you have all these grandma visors? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, skincare.
I know. I am the same. I call it my lampshade. Like every time I walk the dogs, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I mean, you'll find me in the winter with a beanie on and I put the lampshade over it.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Exactly. What's working. One of the things we were talking a little bit about earlier is, this huge repository of protocols and then different types of boosters and consumables. And I was looking at your website and there are so many, and there's some really exciting ones with, skincare companies. There's exciting ones with other types of brands. How do you think about, innovation there, what to prioritize, strategic partnerships? Because I'm sure, many brands would want to work with you.
Yeah, we actually are in a really cool position right now because research and development has been a very important part of our company for the last several years. And
Mhm.
we are about to turn a corner with new launches and partnerships in the industry that will be really exciting for our consumers that exist today and future consumers as well.
Fun.
And so we have a lot of wonderful partners that we've worked with. But as a company, since skin health is so important to us, we're also researching our own boosters in terms of creating new boosters that address different types of skin conditions.
Mhm.
So that will continue to be a very important part of our business development moving forward, as well as bringing new technology to the industry and also revamping and adding to our current portfolio as well.
Yeah. And when you are, I guess, how do you hear from the consumer? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure what you're doing is thinking about, okay, what's our consumer asking for today? What do we think they'll be asking for tomorrow? What's our patient base? What does our patient base look like? How are you having those touch points so you can bring that information back to your R&D team?
Yeah. Well, I think because HydraFacial has such a large footprint internationally,
Yeah.
we have such great data telling us what boosters are being used,
Mhm.
what are the skin conditions that we see the most of. So that will give us some navigation in terms of what we're investing in. The
Mhm.
other thing that we do is stay very close to new technologies coming into the industry. You hear a
Yeah.
lot about peptides right now, you hear a lot about exosomes,
Yeah.
polynucleotides, growth factors. So we watch all of those trends as well to see what do we have that's playing within that space and where
Yeah.
do we need to partner to make sure that we are on the cutting edge of skin health when it comes to increasing booster utilization or adding to our portfolio.
Yeah.
So one of the advantages we have as a company is just the sheer number of devices we have globally. And we
Yeah.
have the ability to look at the boosters we currently have, the skin conditions that they fulfill, and is there a gap there?
Yeah, I've been thinking that's so funny you bring up those things. I've been thinking a lot about HydraFacial and of course growth factor and exosomes and peptides and also, I'm increasingly seeing topical NAD, which I think
Yeah.
is really interesting too in terms of cellular health and energy and rejuvenation. And I'm sure these are things that your team is very much on top of. And what a fun job to be able to sort of
Yeah.
spend all your time thinking about new modalities.
Yeah, it is really fun because as we see, the way that the market is trending with skin rejuvenation, the category alone has so much opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
You still see injectables, as the top revenue generating category for practices. So
Mhm.
you still see neuromodulators and fillers, even that we've
Mhm.
seen a downturn with fillers, but they're still a large percentage of the revenue.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is skin rejuvenation and medical grade skincare slowly making its way to the top,
Yeah.
right? More and
Yeah.
more patients. And so that's really fun. It's a fun place to be because we have such a wonderful customer base and
Mhm.
have people that we can work directly with on new innovation and finding new avenues to bring interest and to continue to speak the language that the consumer really wants to hear.
Yeah. I also think what's fun is you're complementary to all of those other things.
Yeah,
So you're not
absolutely.
competing with, let's get rid of the laser and make sure that folks are using that time here. Like you make
Yeah.
all of the things better. And, I love to be in a place in an industry where you're sort of like helping rise all tides. And,
Yeah.
I'm sure all of those categories are looking at skin rejuvenation and folks like you to understand how that benefits them and their positioning and their brand as
Right.
well.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about, that full client treatment, right? That full consultation. If you're going to talk about collagen stimulation at the deep dermal layer or, with Sculptra, for example, well, we better
Mhm.
talk about it on the surface layer too. We better
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about it within the dermal layer. I mean, you don't just treat one condition. You look at the face as a whole or as you look at the skin as a whole
Yeah.
organ and how you can treat all the different parts.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. One of the things my friend Dan Schechter, CPP, said on a podcast a long time ago was, as a leader, one of the things he thinks a lot about is like, what is your unfair advantage, right? Like, what is the thing that you do that you can do differently or better or more uniquely than other brands or other companies in this space? What do you think is HydraFacial's unfair advantage?
Gosh, I feel like, I mean, it's a tried, true, and trusted brand. And I don't
Yeah.
take that for granted because I think the years of creating that trust in the marketplace with our customers and with the patients is so special.
Mhm.
We've continued to stay on the cutting edge with technology, adding new boosters to the mix, and even increasing our technology itself. I mean, we have
Yeah.
multiple different hydrofacial devices, Syndeo being our latest one. And so we have an advantage of having that large footprint and having a brand that I think this is really unique for us is a brand that the med spas, the plastics, the derms, the consumers understand, but
Yeah.
so do their patients.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
not every, it's really rare that a patient walks in the door and knows a brand name.
Yeah.
And Botox has done such an excellent job at creating that category name,
Hmm.
right? It's like Kleenex or tissue. Like
Exactly.
you just say Botox for everything. And to a patient, it
Exactly.
means wrinkle relaxer. Or someone would walk in and say, I want Botox here. They don't even really understand where it goes. They just
Yeah.
know it fixes their wrinkles.
Yeah.
And HydraFacial has become a phrase like that for so many patients as well. So
Yeah.
that is our unfair advantage. And it is kudos to this company for doing such a great job in marketing to both parts of the business. Yes, the med spa, if you will, but also to their patients and
Yeah.
driving the utilization through their front door.
Yeah. I was actually thinking a lot of that very point in preparing for this podcast where, even in lasers, I think like Morpheus did a nice job of
Mhm.
targeting the patient. But in most other categories, with the exception to your point of Botox, which is, I think, had the unfair advantage of many things, including time, just like
Yeah.
being to market faster than others.
Mhm.
Having the patient coming in asking for, a HydraFacial versus always having to rely on a provider to educate is such a wonderful
Yeah.
thing. Also, HydraFacial applies to everyone. So it's not like, I'm coming in and saying, can I have this specific thing? And it's like pretty niche. And like now the provider has to like sort of de-educate me on it. Train, sort of upsell me on something else. It's a really universal treatment.
Yeah, and it's customizable, and that's what makes it so
Hmm.
unique compared to the competition is it's not just a one and done.
Yeah.
It's customizable to the unique patient in the chair, to the skin condition that they have or the need that that patient has, and that's why it's a 7-step treatment process. It's
Hmm.
lymphatic drainage, it's extractions, it's a peel, it's LED light therapy, it's a booster. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
customizable,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
also gives the practice a really great advantage as well,
Yeah.
because they're not just stuck giving one procedure to the same
Yeah.
procedure to every patient that walks in the door.
Yeah.
It is much more prescriptive and customizable.
Right. Which is, I think, much more satisfying for providers, right?
Oh,
I mean, it's
totally.
facials are, they get to play and,
Mhm.
bring their experience and expertise to a patient. And so it's nice to see that, this modality doesn't necessarily preclude that. And, it obviously ends in the final and most satisfying step of looking at that little jar of what comes
Gunky.
out.
I
Yeah,
know, right?
exactly. Exactly.
I
That
know.
comes out.
It's horrifying at times, but then you're like, "Wow." I mean,
I
it
know.
is just absolutely fascinating, and if you haven't done a scalp treatment, Annie,
Yeah.
do a scalp treatment, and you'll be shocked at the gunky.
I don't think anyone's ever looked at
Shocked.
my scalp. This is gonna be really,
I know.
except for my derm, because skin checks are very important.
Yep.
But it's a vulnerable place. But I'm gonna do it.
We don't realize how gunked up our scalp gets. I mean, think
Yeah.
about all the products you put in your hair, right? And
Oh
even
yeah.
shampoo and conditioner can get stuck.
Yeah.
So, if you are using right now any type of peptide or, hair growth serum, is
Hmm.
it truly penetrating into the pores? You
Yeah.
may have such a gunked up scalp that you're not maximizing the benefits of those products that you're purchasing. And
Yeah.
they're not cheap.
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
absolutely
Well,
not.
even getting your scalp treated, once a quarter, once
Yeah.
every 6 weeks makes a huge impact and difference on
Yeah.
your scalp's ability to regrow hair.
Yeah. And I bet it's actually incredibly. I bet it feels very good.
It does.
Everyone loves a
And
scalp massage.
yeah, and people think, "Oh, I'm gonna go get my, a HydroScalp treatment and my hair is gonna be soaking wet it's really minimal because it's just treating right within the hairline, right at the scalp. And so
Yeah.
you're not like soaked. You don't walk out of there like a drowned
You
rat.
can
You
like
can
go
pretty
back
much
to work. It
go
could be
right
your
back to
lunch
your day.
break if you
Yeah.
need. Yeah. For those who
Yeah.
take breaks, it could be a lunch
Right.
break.
I don't.
What are those?
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Before we wrap up, I always love to do just to sort of end our time together with a few rapid fire questions for you as a
Yeah.
leader. Um,
Yeah.
what right now is the hardest part of your job?
Mm. The hardest part of my job, I think, is it's twofold. I want to run faster than I can
Yeah.
sometimes just because I want to be everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, the footprint of the area that I oversee for the company is quite large. But I care deeply about my team and being with my team, linking arms with them and being with our customers. And
Yeah.
so the hardest part for me is being everywhere all at once or feeling my own pressure to be everywhere all at once,
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard when you believe in the power of connection and in person and
Yeah.
yet have a global job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's like I always think about I leave conferences often feeling so like in my soul
Oh, yeah.
energized. But my
Yes.
body doesn't
Yes.
always keep up. And there's only,
I know.
there's no amount of NAD that's going to like solve that problem for me.
I
But,
know.
I think it's a good problem to have.
And every time I'm with one of my reps or with our customers, it fills my bucket.
Totally.
And I love that. I love that adrenaline dump. I love that, you know, just that happiness that you get from being with your people. So I wish
Totally.
I could do more of that.
Yeah.
But being strategic and running this side of the business is also really fun because it's a great space that we're a great company. We can pivot quickly and we're doing
Yeah.
a lot on the innovation side, and being a part of that is really cool.
Yeah, you may have just answered it. I was gonna say, what
Yeah.
is on the flip side? What's the most fun part of your job?
Yeah, I mean that. It's
Yeah,
it's having the autonomy, working with a wonderful CEO that allows me to run at the pace I want to, but
great.
allows me to be very instrumental about the processes I put in place, the tools that I have for my team, and
Mhm.
a company that really believes in that and believes in the culture that we've built together and where we're headed in the future.
Yeah,
So that feels great. At HydraFacial, everyone here has a voice. My reps know that they can pick up the phone and call me at any time. And
yeah,
I want to know what's happening in the field. I want to hear the feedback from our customers. And
yeah,
we move and we pivot quickly. And that is really cool.
yeah. That's really cool. And that's I was asking you earlier about sort of how do you keep a pulse on your end patient,
Yeah.
and I think that's you're sharing a little bit too of like how are you keeping pulse on your people. And
Yeah.
having that just direct access, I think from a signaling perspective alone is really powerful, but also they're the backbone of, companies, right? They're the backbone of your business.
They are. And that's everything to me. It's not about titles. It's not about what seat we all have at the table per se. It's about linking arms and doing it together. And that's really important for me with my team that,
Definitely.
I'm in the trenches with them. And there's nothing that I won't do with them. I'll do a dinner event. I'll do a lunch and
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
I'll be at a conference. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We all just want the best for our customers and the patients that they serve.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. Thank you. With that,
Yeah.
I think it has been a treat to have you, Kelly. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
thanks,
coming on
Annie.
board. I could chat with you for hours, but unfortunately, I think you have a big job to do. So appreciate you making the
I
time.
know it's end of the quarter, so back
Yeah,
to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.